Imagine this. You finally got the courage to text that one person. You are nervous, present, and you wait. You wait and wait and wait for their response, but nothing happens. You feel like you made a fool out of yourself because clearly that person doesn't like you. But is it like that? Very often, our mind can actually play tricks on us, which make us feel like we're less liked than we actually are. That's what I want to talk about today. Some common biases that we have that make us feel less liked than we actually are. And obviously, I'm also talking about what we can do against those biases to feel better about ourselves and maybe even positively influence the relationships that we have or going to have soon. The first point is the all or nothing mindset. Most of the time, our brain takes a tiny bit of information and fill in the blanks. For example, you text someone, they are not responding. That immediately means either they are not interested in you or they are simply upset. I bet you have caught yourself in those kind of situations. If yes, let me know in the comments on what kind of situation it was. The biases and shortcuts I mean, which take a small information and fill in the blanks, can be overgeneralizing, catastrophizing, or black and white thinking. If we're honest, probably all of us did that at least once in our lifetime. That's also why I want to start with it, because I think that's one of the most common things that happen. It can lead us to think, for example, oh, we texted a person and they didn't respond. They clearly don't like us or aren't interested in us in the first place. What can we actually do against it? The first thing we can do against it is a reality check. What information do we actually have? So for example, okay, we have the information that we texted them and they didn't text back. But what more do we have? We think they're mad at us. But do they really? What information do we have that indicates that? How was the rest of the chat with them? How was the last interaction with them? Is there really anything that shows us, okay, they are upset with us or are not interested in us, other than the fact that they are not texting? The next step then would be, okay, what kind of alternative explanations are there for the evidence that we actually have? For example, yes, they didn't text us back, but could it be that they are at work, that they are busy, or that they actually opened the message, wanted to answer us, but then something disrupted them, came in between, and they forgot that this message existed in the first place? If it's hard for you to come up with some alternative explanations, maybe think about when you were in that situation the last time. So when did someone text you and you didn't answer immediately back? Was it always that you were mad at that person? Sure, that could be, but I'm very certain there were also situations in which you just forgot or were busy. The thing is, we are very good in finding excuses for ourselves, but we are fairly harsh on other people. So just try to put yourself in that position, find excuses for yourself, and then think about, okay, those can actually be explanations for the behavior of the other people. Just try to remember that you can't control if another person is busy or even distracted, but you can control how you are interpreting their actions. So just try to step back and actually see it from a bit of a bird's eye perspective. See what else could be the reason for it and how to calm yourself down, because most of the time it's not as bad as we think. The next one is the should space thinking. It basically means that we are relying too much on rules for ourselves for other people. For example, we are always texting people back. That's why we are thinking, okay, we already sent them a text. They had a lot of time, so they should have answered by now. But the thing is, they don't. It's not a universal rule that if someone texts you, you have to answer them ASAP. It doesn't even mean that you have to answer them in general. So the antidote for that: reframe your rules. Realize those are your rules and not general rules. So for example, oh, the person should have texted me back, or they must have read the message by now. If you notice things should be or must be a certain way, try to remind yourself that those are rules for you and not for other people. Try to, again, step back and reframe them. I know it's very hard to shake off those expectations or rules immediately, so try to reframe and maybe turn a should into a could. For example, okay, they should have texted back by now turns into a they could have texted back by now. If you notice it, there is already a big difference between should have texted and could have texted back. Overall, just think about it as preferences. It's fine to have preferences, but you have to cut people some slack, because at the end of the day, those are your preferences. So try to remember, not everyone will meet your expectations. And that's okay. Realizing that not everyone will meet your expectations helps you to actually build better relationships. Try to focus on the relationship itself and not this one message that wasn't returned or that one action. And if it's really a very important thing for you, you can have your expectations, but communicate them clearly. That way, people actually know what you expect of them and aren't confused because you give mixed signals or you're being mad at them and they don't know why. Lastly, the mind reading, which means that you assume the thoughts or intentions of a person. So, for example, I had it that a person was asking me how my job hunt is going, and I knew they would just ask it to kind of embarrass me in front of other people. But at the end, did I know that? No, I can't read their thoughts. I can't assume their intentions. And that leads to the first antidote. Realize you're not a magician. Even though a lot of people assume that because I study psychology, I can read other people's minds, I can't. And I shouldn't try to. Because how often have you been in that situation that you said something or did something and a person's mad at you? And you don't know why because you had the best intentions. Well, probably because they actually thought they were a magician and they assumed your intentions or your thought behind something. So when you realize you're not a magician, it actually helps you a bit. There's this saying that if you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. And I agree with it because basically, when we just assume something, we know nothing. So realize that you are not a magician, try to assume less, and if it really bothers you, talk to that person. I talked to that person and they told me that they never intended anything negative. They were just curious and they didn't know where I was standing, if I'm taking a gap year, or if I even want to have a job in the first place. So just ask for clarification, and that makes it easier for everyone. Before I come to the universal antidote, if any of those tips actually helped you to rethink some of your thought patterns, maybe give the video a thumbs up and subscribe my channel, because that would really help me and also other people to find the content. So, now to the universal antidote. You can ask yourself one single question. Does it really matter? I know it sounds like a stupid question, but first of all, does it really matter that the person doesn't respond to the text? If it's a life and death text, yeah, okay, but most likely we're texting someone and the answer doesn't really matter. Or does it really matter that that one person likes you or not? There are what, 8 billion people out there? If one person doesn't like you, does it really matter? Does it really mean that you're unlikable? No, it doesn't. And at the end, there's just one person that actually needs to like you, and that's yourself. Because when you start liking yourself, you actually have more genuine connections with other people, and other people start liking you more as well. I know it sounds stupid, but if you like yourself, you're also attracting other people more because people like to be surrounded by people who make them feel better. And if you feel better about yourself, other people will also feel better about themselves. That was it from me. Try to just remember that sometimes our mind can play some tricks on us and we are more liked than we actually think. And if you want to dive deeper into how other people influence your moods, goals, and even your self picture, then watch my other video